The Sicha we're going to learn now is in the Sichos, Celek Chavalev, the first Sicha to Parshas Tetsave. That in Parshas Tetsave steht in Baal HaTurim, concerning the Parshas Tetsave, it says in the Baal HaTurim, Adosi the einzige Sedre, Mishoshen Elad Moshe, that's the only Sedre from the time Moshe was born, in welches Zwertni der Mon, the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. That Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned. Ad Mishnah Torah, did the Rabbi quotes from Parshas till Mishnah Torah, because in Mishnah Torah, which is Chumash Dvorim, we do find that Parsha that Moshe wasn't mentioned, but he means from when Moshe was born, which is in Parshas Shmos, till Mishnah Torah, till Chumash Dvorim, Tetsave is the only Parsha where Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned. And the time of them is, the reason is, because in Parsha Kesisa we find that Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, he wants him to forgive the Eden for the sin of the Egel. And then he said, if not, erase me from the sefer that you wrote. And the way the pshat in the Farshim is that it means from the sefer Torah. Erase me from the Torah. There's another pshat I will see later that it means erase me from the sefer Achayim, from the sefer of life, and may take away my life. But that's not a simple pshat. That's not how Rashi learns. So he says, erase me from the sefer Torah that you wrote. And if a chocham, tzaddik, curses, even if it's unconditioned, it comes. And here, even though it is unconditioned, he says, if you don't forgive them, then erase my name from the sefer. But he did forgive them. But nevertheless, a klola of a chocham becomes fulfilled. Das niskayim geworden in der Seder. So therefore, it was fulfilled in this week's Seder, which is the Seder of Parshas Tetsave. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned in Tetsave. So the Rebbe continues and says, Jeder inyan und prat in Torah is bediuk. Every inyan and every detail in Torah is exact. So we have to say, Ados was dafke Parshas Tetsave uzviklim geworden. So we have to say that this Parshas Tetsave specifically was chosen to be the one where Moshe Rabbeinu will not be mentioned. As in so that in this parsha is the parsha where the fulfillment of Moshe Rabbeinu's statement, erasement from Torah, should be fulfilled. But state in Parsha Kesisa, which says in Parsha Kesisa, there must be a reason why it's stuck in Parshas Tetsave. Befrat, especially as the Chura volt mehr Masim given as I know the Inyan. At first glance, it would make more sense that this Inyan should be hinted. As Amiras Moshe is Mekurim geworden, I feel out night that what Moshe Rabbeinu said, erase me from the Torah, got fulfilled, even though that condition would make more sense if it would take place in eine von die Sedres was kommen noch und wenn wir wegen Amiras Mecheni. No, it would come after we already learned that Moshe said Mecheni. No, we know about it and we learned about it. Then it would make sense. Now that we know that Moshe said erase me, so one of the later parshas after that his name should be erased. But here we see it's erased after from Tetsave, so that is more reason to look for a reason why Parsha Tetsave was chosen. It needs a reason. Even if we wouldn't say the other Parshas are better, even all that would be the same, we still need, why did they choose Parsha Tetsave? Everything is exact. Certainly, if there's a reason why it should really be later, because it means after you know Mecheni, know that Moshe said, erase me, now it happens. So why is it here? Is there's a fire, but der Inyan from Mecheni and Sifrach is masim zu teichen from der Seder. It's because the erasing that he said fits to this Seder. So there must be some connection between the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned, he was, so to speak, erased, fits the Parsha Tetsave. Now the Rebbe says here, in Ha'ora 7, in the Sefer Meir Anayim, beginning of Parsha Tetsave, it says a different way. Others for him say it, that because Zayin Oder, which is the yard site of Moshe, which was Moshe was missing, usually fits is in Parsha Tetsave. Many years, most years of Parsha Tetsave. And therefore, Parsha Tetsave was chosen. But the Rebbe says, of a movement, but that's not really 100% good reason, because there also has to be some connection to the content of Parsha Tetsave. Not only because of the time of the year, but it has to have a shaykhis. So we have to find the shaykhis to Parsha Tetsave. So we have to understand. What connection is there from the Moshe Rabbeinu said, erase my name from the Torah to the Teichen, to the contents of Parsha Tetsave? There it doesn't talk anything about it. There it talks about the commandment to light the menorah, Asiyas big dekune, about making the garments of the Kohanim, Chinuch the dedication, of Aaron and his children to the Aved in the Beis Hamikdash, Nasias Mizbach HaTeiros, and it also speaks about making them smaller Mizbach HaTeiros. These in Yonim are in the Parsha. But what's the connection between Moshe Rabbeinu saying erasing from the Torah to Parsha Tetsave? We also have to understand. The whole purpose why Moshe Rabbeinu is not mentioned is not as Doretzich, not wegen Moshe. It doesn't mean that it's a Parsha where Moshe is not spoken about. That they chose a Sedre where Moshe has nothing to do with the Sedre. Nor as Moshe wird nicht der Mann beschmei. All of this, his name is not mentioned. Aber in the Sedre Retzich wegen Moshe, and in Aribi Psukim, the Sedre talks about Moshe. Many Psukim talk about Moshe. Noch mehr. Goes even further that it doesn't mean that Moshe is not discussed there, but it talks a lot about Moshe. More than that, the Hascholas HaSedre, the beginning of the Sedre, when Shem HaSedre, and the name of the Sedre shows that we're talking about Moshe. Was it Marameski Yedua from Teichen from the Ganze Sedre? We know the Rebbe always explained that the name of a Sedre, I mean, the beginning of the Sedre has the name of the Sedre has in it some connection to the whole Sedre. So if the name of the Sedre is Tetsave, who's Tetsave? Yukshu command. That's Moshe. So the name of the Sedre, the beginning of the Sedre, and the name of the Sedre, Va'ato Tetsave, which is the name of the Sedre, and in the order of the 10 Rebbe said that's how the Parsha is called in Zeir Cheder Gimel, in Zeir Chodesh, other places that the name of the Sedre is Va'ato Tetsave. But Tzitzich Dafke to Moshe. The beginning of the Sedre, the name of the Sedre, is talking about referring to Moshe. And they say more than that. Va'ato Tetsave men kipirish HaKlei and Husas Muscha. The Klei says when it says Va'ato Tetsave you, who's the you? You is something beyond the name. You is the etzem of the person. That's you. So the Klei says that when it says Ato, it could have said Utetzave. The Ato Tetzave means you, your etzem, your Mahus as Muscha, your Mahus. Was Mahus Ma'atzmas when I mention is tiefer and hecher from the Darge in mention was is verbunden mit Shem. The etzem of a person, the Mahus of the person is much deeper within the person and is higher than the level of a name. Why? Because in Yonif and Hashem it's the idea of a name is that somebody else should be able to call him, should refer to him. That's what the purpose of a name. A person for himself does not need a name. A person could live without a name. But if someone else wants to refer to him or wants to call him, you have a name. So the whole purpose of a name is the connection of the person to somebody else. Aber der Atzmas am Hus von einem Menschen ist hecher und tiefer von Hob Mashaycha zu Azulas. But the etzem of a person is much higher and deeper than your connection to somebody else. The Meila hecher von Yin Hashem is much higher than the Yin of Hashem. So it's much higher than the Hashem. And even though, in the order 12, the Rebbe says that even though there is always, we say there is a connection between the name and the etzem of the person, and the Rebbe doesn't say this, but we know that if someone faints, and if you can't revive him, one of the ways is to whisper his name into his ear, and that will revive him. That means it'll go back to his etzem. So we do find the name is connected to the etzem. So the Rebbe says, the pshat is Hashem mekasher and neshama beguf. Not that the Shem, the name is connected to the etzem. The name is connecting the guf, the body, to the neshama to the body. The neshama itself doesn't have a name. The neshama, before it comes down into the body, doesn't have a name. But when there's a connection, so it's connected to. So the Shem represents the connection between the neshama and even maybe the etzem and neshama to the body. But it's not that the Shem is the etzem of the person. But Ato, the etzem amahuz, that's much deeper. And even though we don't have the name of Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshas Tetsave, but we do talk about Moshe Rabbeinu himself. And the beginning, which is the Iker, talks about Moshe Rabbeinu without his name. It says, Va'ato you, your etzem amahuz. So it comes out according to this, as Adarab, on the contrary. The way Moshe Rabbeinu said Mecheni raised him from the Torah, and that got fulfilled in the Parsha, as Moshe der Mond mit bishmei nor do the Werte Vata Tetsave, that Moshe is not mentioned by name. That's what the whole thing is. Because he said, you raised me, so the name is not mentioned. And instead it says Vata Tetsave. So certainly it seems that it shows on a bigger connection to Moshe. Mecheni means erase me, take me away from what it's written in the Torah. And what did the Torah do? They did not write his name and speak about his etzem. Talk about Moshe a lot, about his etzem, which is even deeper. So that's strange to say that the way the Mecheni no Mesifrecha, the way he's saying erasing from your Sefer is fulfilled is through this inyan of not writing his name, but talking about him. his etzem and writing about Tetsave. So l'chura, it doesn't fit to what it says that the reason his name is not mentioned is because of Mecheni, when he is mentioned even more in a higher level. That man does verstehen, so the Rebbe says we will understand this. The Hagdam Abir and the Meged Linie from Bakashas Meishem and Chenyan Lamesifrecho Asher Kasafto. To first understand what's so special about Moshe Rabbeinu's request, erase me from the Sefer that you wrote. Upirish Rashi, and Rashi says it means Mikola Teira Kula, erase me from the Teira. What's so special about it? What did he mean to say, erase me? There must be something. By doing that, he was saying something very deep. What was he saying? So that explains. In Yon of Moshe is Teira, the whole union of Moshe, which we could also see, the essence of Moshe is Teira. Like the Gemara actually says, in Chilten, I mean, the Gemara Chilten and Shmei Rabbi Medrash, Atayra in the Kras al Shmei. It says, why is Teira called in his name? Because there is a posuk that says, Zichru Teiras Moshe Avdi. Eibishter says, remembered the Teira of Moshe Mayevet. The Teira of Moshe, the Teira is not Moshe's, the Teira is the Eibishter's. So the Chazal say that why is the Teira called on Moshe's name as if it's his? About Moshe Nosa Nafsha al Teira. Al Teira. Moshe gave his life for Teira. So we understand that Moshe and Teira is Moshe's inyan is Teira. Their fun is verstandig. So from that we understand as the inyan from Mechenyon HaMesifrech HaMakola Teira Kula. So when Moshe said, erase me from your sefer, from the whole Teira, read on the etzem mitzias from Moshe that affects the essence of the mitzias of Moshe via Teira. His real mitzias is one with Teira. And when he says he erased him from the Teira, you know what that means? What Moshe was trying to do? It's something that he was giving up, part of his etzem or the etzem. His etzem is Teira, and he says, erase him from the Teira. So disconnect me from the Teira. If you don't forgive the Yidden, disconnect me from the Teira. So that's affecting something in his etzem mitzias. And why did Moshe put this essence in risk? For what reason? In order that by doing that, this would cause that Eibusha would forgive the Yidden for the Chet Egel. Who did the Chet Egel? Was a Chet Egel a Chet Achigomur? It's a very terrible Aveira. It's a very strict Aveira. So much so that the later Aveiras that the Yidden do is still connected to the Chet Egel. So it's an Aveira that's connected throughout all the generations. Like it says, it says that the day that I will remember this also, which means the Eibusher is saying, as the Chazal say, that every time he does an Aveira and the Eibusher punishes for that Aveira, he will add a little bit of punishment for the Chet Egel, all throughout all generations. So you could imagine how terrible that Aveira is. And Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to give up his essence, which is Torah, to get out of the Torah, in order to get a kapara for the people who did such a terrible Aveira. It's tamu, it's not understood. Wie kommt es, as Moshe's line stells an etzem mitzias? How's it possible? Moshe should put on a line his etzem, his essence of his mitzias. Was his verbunden mit Torah, which connected to Torah, for who? For the tail Eden was for those people, that part of Klal Yisrael that sinned with the Egel. Kelil the Eise Egel, including Dibus and Gemet Macht Egel, Gemet Egel. But given Hepech from the Yilach only Sasa, which is against what it says in Matan Torah, you should not have another God and you should not make an Avodah Zarah. In Gans Nobgeris and Achmon Lands from Torah, we're talking about these people who are torn away, God forbid, Achmon Lands, God forbid, from Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu was giving up his essence, which is Torah, for those who went against the Torah. So the shaila is, so what's so special about it? Why did he want to do that? Giving up his essence for such people? We also have to understand, what is the meaning of Moshe's request? If you don't forgive, erase me from the Torah, from the Torah. In other words, what he's going to ask, how does erasing him from the Torah bring a kapara for the Eden? He's saying, if you don't give a kapara, erase me. In other words, he's saying, if you don't want to erase me, then give him a kapara. What's the connection between the two? What's the keshet zwischen the zwei Inyonim? What's the connection with these two things? As if the Eibishter the Yidden nicht mechaper sein, from Chet Egel is mechayin in the Torah. But if the Eibishter will not forgive the Yidden from the Chet Egel, so erase me from the Torah. What's the connection? How will that help? How will, by him being erased from the Torah, the Yidden will get a kapara? Now in the Hora 18, the Rebbe says, there's another pshat. There's a pshat from the Ramban and the Barbanel and others, is that when he said erase me from the Sefer that you wrote, it didn't mean the Sefer of Torah, but that, like I mentioned before, he means erase me from the Sefer Achayim, from the Sefer of Life, which basically would put, if you're going to not forgive the Yidden and basically kill them, kill me too. That's what he meant. Take me out from the Sefer Achayim, which means he wanted to be part of what they, if they punishes them, punish me too. Now that would make sense. He says, if you're going to do that to them, I want to be part of it. But according to Rashi and most Meforshim, that he says, erase me from the Torah, from the Sefer, which is the Torah. So what's erasing him from the Torah going to help in order to bring a kapara for Eden? If you don't forgive, erase him from the Torah. What's the connection? Rashi is Mavayir. So Rashi explains, that Moshe wanted to make sure that people, later on generations, should not say about me, about Moshe, I wasn't able to ask and daven for them. I wasn't worthy that I should be able to pile through my davening that the Yidden should be forgiven. So that's what they meant. Erase him from, I don't want to be in the Torah, because I'll be in the Torah and people will know that the Yidden were destroyed. That means, shows a lack of greatness in Moshe Rabbeinu. I don't want that to happen. Now in order 20, the Rebbe says that in Medrashim Shmeis Rabbo, it says a different thing. It says like this: the whole Torah was given for the sake of the Eden, but if you're going to destroy them, so what am I going to do in the Torah? There's no need, so to speak, basic to the Torah. The Torah says, if you're going to destroy them, that's what it means. So l'chura, that does make sense. Erase him from the Torah, because what's the purpose of the Torah? But the Rebbe says, then this is not a request from the Eibishter. It's just saying that if Moshe is madgish, if you're going to destroy the Eden, automatically I will be erased from the Torah. If you destroy the Eden, there's no Torah, because the whole Torah is for the Eden. Now, if you destroy the Eden, there's no Torah anymore. So I'll be out of the Torah. So it's only a result. Wait, mashma from Pasuk, it's a request. If you don't forgive the Eden, erase me from the Torah. It's a request. And so according to Rashi, what is the request? Please, if you do that, erase me from the Torah. Why? So the way the Rebbe brought before, that the request is, so if not, people will see me in the Torah and see that I did not have the ability to daven for the Eden to be forgiven. So it's not nice for me, so to speak. It's not going to be good for me. Oh, but the Pirish Shachur Niklati, the Rebbe says, this pshat is not simple, not smooth. But for Loshen HaPosek is mashif, and Loshen HaPosek it seems, as with their tiny betvietz and Meibish, that when Moshe Rabbeinu complained or said to Hashem, but Moshe gave pale na kapora from Chet HaEgel. All he wanted to do is that cause the Eibishter to forgive for the Chet HaEgel. So this must be part of the way to forgive. That he said is not to make sure that he doesn't lose his covet. People will not be able to say anything negative about him. But what Moshe was saying, this is a reason to forgive. And the kasha comes back. How is that a reason to forgive? Because Moshe will be raised from the Torah, maybe he should forgive. Also, and this is even more important, when we're talking about chas v'sholom, they will not forgive for this aveda, which is a chatog deila, a big aveda. That's what we're talking about. So what is the importance by Moshe, who's the Yiddish leader, the trustworthy shepherd, the fact that they'll say something about him? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, when it came to such a thing, being forgiven for the Chet HaEgel, and if Chas v'Sholom Hashem would not forgive such a big aveda, so what's Moshe thinking about? So what are they going to say about me? So that's what is in mind, what he's going to say about him, what he cares about himself when we're talking about such a major thing. So there must be much more to it. So the the explanation is like this. Moshe Rabbeinu is Eizach Miklal Yisrael. Before we said Moshe Rabbeinu is one with Torah. His etzem is Torah. But then we also know Moshe Rabbeinu is one with Klal Yisrael, with all the Yidden. So much so that you cannot separate between Moshe and the Yidden, Bechlal Yidden, and even from the individual Yidden. Like Rashi says in Parshas Chukas, Moshe hu Yisrael, Yisrael ha Moshe. Moshe is the Yidden, and the Yidden are Moshe. Moshe and the Yidden are one. And as we see, was the far for the Chet HaEgel gepeilt ha'yiride Moshe. That's why we find that when the Yidden did the Egel, this caused Moshe Rabbeinu's level to lower down. K'mayim Chazal, like in Posek Lech Reid, the Chazal say on the Posek, what the Eibishter said to Moshe, Lech Reid, go down. So simple pshat means go down from the mountain where it was by Hashem, and go down, and you'll see what's happening down there, Yidden are making the Egel. But the Chazal say, Pasha in the Gemara Broches, when he said Lech Reid, go down, meant Reid Migduloscha, go down from your greatness. Because what the Yidden down there, down here in this world, they made a Chet HaEgel, your greatness is down. L'chura, the Rebbe asks, Moshe had no connection to Chet HaEgel. Not even in the category that you were able to protest, able to stop him. Sometimes a person has no connection to Aveda, but if he could have stopped it and he didn't try to stop, so he has a shtickle connection. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't even have that level. Because he was pushed on the mountain. Simple push it. He was not in that place. He was someplace else. He was on the mountain. Not only physically he was in the mountain. His matzav, his situation. What level was he at that time? Very high spiritual level. They're talking to the Eibishter. So he had no connection to the Chet Egel. From Heinz Favosel, the Chet Egel unreading him. So why should the Chet Egel, the Aveda of the Egel, affect Moshe Rabbeinu? The Eibishter said, because of that, you're going down. The answer is, the Moshe is Eizach mit Yisrael. Moshe and Yidden are one. The Melech Dolos and Nitnon is given Eizach mit Gadlus Yisrael. So when Moshe Rabbeinu had Gadlus, was given greatness, it's greatness of the Yidden, because him and the Yidden are one. There's greatness of the Yidden. But the Chet, so therefore the sin, which is Chitzina Egel, when you read it from Yisrael, and the fact that the Yidden went down the level, many levels, the Derech HaMelech gepeilt HaYeridei Moshe, the Melech caused the Yidden Moshe. So one thing we see that Moshe and the Yidden are one. Whatever happens to the Yidden happens to Moshe. Und die Sachtes von Moshe mit Yidden is noch tiefer wie seine Sachtes mit Torah. And this unity, this union, this connection, I was saying that Moshe and the Yidden is deeper than his Achtus von Torah, than his connection to Torah. Because before we said Moshe and the Torah are one. It's called Torah's Moshe. And now we're saying Moshe and the Yidden are one. So they're both true. It's not a contradiction. But which one is deeper? So the Rebbe says the connection of Moshe with the Yidden is deeper than his connection to Torah. Just like when we speak about when the Yidden are connected with Eibishter. So it says, even though we say that the Torah and Yidden are one, the Pirish Apnimi from Maimon Chazal, as the deeper pshat, the pnim is the pshat in what the Chazal say, that the word Anochi, which is the first word of the Aseres Adibres, is an abbreviation of Anon Nafshik Sovis Yehovis, which means as a Reibish Rotzich Alein Nafshi reingeschrieben dort gegeben in Torah. Anon Nafshi, I, my nefesh, I wrote in and gave over in the Torah. So in the Torah is the Eibishter. So the Eibishter and Torah are one. Von deswegen ist die Achtes von Yidden mit Kutschebricho noch tiefer und hecher davon. The fact that the Eibishter and Yidden are one is deeper than the fact that the Eibishter and Torah are one. The Maimer Chazal, like it says in Chazal, in different Bereshis Rabbah and Ton de Belio, as Yisrael Kodm the Torah. The Yidden are before Torah. The Chazal say that there are a few things which are before the Torah. I mean, Kodm Leilam, before the world. And two of the things that are early in the world means are higher, a closer connection to the Eibishter in the world, and that's Yidden and Torah. And then it says, but I still don't know between the two which one is first, which means which one is closer to the Eibishter. So the Chazal answer, actually, Novi answered, Yisrael Kodm the Torah. Yidden came before Torah. That means what came before, not the time of timing. Yidden are closer to the Eibishter than Torah. So even though the Eibishter and Torah are one, the Eibishter and Yidden are one, the oneness, the connection of the Eibishter with Yidden is greater and higher than the connection of the Eibishter to Torah. Al derech zeh, so too, similarly, as a result of that, is by Nesiya Hador, is by the leaders, the Nesiyim of every generation. As Berlosh and Rasha says, Nosiya Hador k'chol Hador, the Nosi of the generation, which was Moshe Rabbeinu in his time, and all the Nesiyim and other generations of the generation is k'chol, is the whole door. So here we see that the connection of Moshe and the Yidden are one. So the same by the Eibishter, the connection of the Eibishter and Torah, and the connection of the Eibishter and Yidden, the connection of the Eibishter and Yidden is higher. Same thing here. As a resachtes mit Yidden from Zeir Dor, that the unity between these Nesiyim and the Yidden of their generation is noch hecher for Zeir resachtes mit Torah, is higher than their connection to Torah. When I say is by tzadikim b'chlal was they melabein, and the truth is it's not only by Nesiyim, by tzadikim b'chlal. Because whatever we find by the Eibishter, we find by tzaddikim. Because the Chazal say tzaddikim doimim leberim. Tzaddikim are similar to their creator. So whatever we find by the Eibishter, we find by the Yidden. So just like we find by the Eibishter that he put himself into his Torah, so the same thing by tzaddikim, that the tzaddik puts himself into his Torah. So nevertheless, afal pi ze geben sich herein in the Inyon Torah was lernen, that even though the tzaddikim put themselves into the Inyonim of Torah, that they learn, so they're in the Torah, especially something new that they said, as much as they're connected to the Torah, especially their own Torah, it doesn't come to the connection of the tzaddikim with Yidden. Especially those that have a connection to them, and therefore they have a responsibility to them, a special. If they're their people, like it says in the Baniya Yircha, When you give tzedakah, you have a choice to give to other people. So ani ircha, those poor people that are from your city come first. Same thing here. When you have a tzaddik and there are people connected to him, so his connection to these Yidden are more than even to others. And they're bonim v'talmidim, or his children, or talmidim. Loshen HaPosek, the Posek had nefesh also. It says by Avram Avinu, those people he was mekarev and he taught Torah. Posek says hanefesh asher also, the nefesh that they made. It's mamish like this, their children. They made it. So there is a connection between the tzaddik and the Torah that he learns. Nevertheless, the connection of him to this Torah is not as strong as the connection to Eden. And when he says that the tzaddik puts himself into his Torah, so the Rebbe in the Order 30 brings what he said other places, that the Rebbe Rashab, before he passed away, he said, I'm going to heaven and I'm leaving my writings to you. And the Shaila the Rebbe asked other places, what does that mean? Who thought that he's going to take his manuscripts with him to Shemayim? Obviously he's leaving it here. So the Rebbe Taisha didn't mean that. Why he's leaving it here? He just said, I'm leaving to Shemayim, I'm going to heaven. So you might think, if I'm going to heaven, so I'm disconnecting myself from you. You should know it's not. I'm still connected to you. I'm in my writings. So when you learn my writings, you're learning me. So this all proves that the tzaddikim put themselves into the Torah. And they're one with their Torah. Nevertheless, their connection to Yidden, especially so Anosis, for the whole generation. Other tzaddikim is for the people of his connection to them. Their unity with the Yidden is deeper than the unity that they have with the Torah. This is the explanation what Moshe meant when he said, erase me from your Sefer. Und kam, was eingestellt sein Netze mit sie ist, wie sie ist verbunden mit Torah zum Leibel Egel, and also will explain why he put himself at risk. His Etze mit sie is, which is Torah, for who? For those who made the Egel, which is against Torah. And now we'll understand why. Why? Very simple. Since the unity of Moshe with Eden is greater than its connection to Torah, that's why the result was two things. Number one, that his Mesiras Nefesh, giving up of himself for Eden, is greater than giving up of Torah. In other words, there was a choice here. Should he give up his connection to Eden because he doesn't want to disconnect from the Torah, or should he have Mesiras Nefesh and give up his connection to Torah and have the connection to Eden? So since we said before that the connection of him to Eden is stronger, so therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was Mesiras Nefesh for Eden, even though these Eden did not keep Torah. They made the Egel, but his connection to them is stronger. So he was ready to give up in order that they should have a kapara. Al derech v'shtei magid mishorim, because sometimes when he's giving an example now, because sometimes you could say, but in other words, I'll put it this way, but how will that work? How will it be that he will be erased from Torah, but maybe they will get a kapara? So the Rebbe gives an example here. So let's learn the example first. Al derech v'shtei magid mishorim, it says in a Sefer Magid Mishorim, which was written that this Yosef had a Magid. Magid means a Malach used to come to teach him, and that some of the teachings that he taught him was written in the Sefer called Magid Mishorim. So there it says, he was supposed to merit to give up his life for Kiddush Hashem. Go on Mesiras Nefesh and give up actually his life. For something that he did, they punished him when they had bepailed that Zunit Zeicha given. He wasn't Zeicha to it because of something that he did. Was umgekommen al Kiddush Hashem, had he died on Kiddush Hashem, he would not be able to write the Shulchan Aruch, the complete Shulchan Aruch. And writing the Shulchan Aruch is something so important, so special. And from there, Torah comes out from lessons for Klal Yisrael. What to do is in Shulchan Aruch. And because of an einish, because of a punishment for him, he wasn't zeicher to go on Kiddush Hashem, and instead of that, he wrote the Shulchan Aruch. It's called the punishment. Is the Ilian Torah, as great as Torah is, it doesn't come to Mesiras Nefesh and Kiddush Hashem, but that's a Mesiras Nefesh vel Mezayid. That's a Mesiras Nefesh that expresses your connection to being a Yid. We should be one with Hashem, we should be a Yid. So we see that he was ready to give up his connection. Not ready. His connection to Yidden is greater than his connection to Torah. And therefore, it's considered a punishment that he was not able to express his being a Yid. And people would see that he went on Mesiras Nefesh. So this means, so we see that there is an exchange, let's put it, that you could, there was not his choice, but he was able to, or do something with Torah, write his Shulchan Aruch, or do something has to do with being a Yid. And really the higher thing would have been doing something as a Yid, going on Mesiras Nefesh, Kiddush Hashem, and instead of that, he wrote Torah. So the same thing here also. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying that his Mesiras Nefesh, by saying I'm giving up my being written in the Torah, would be a Mesiras Nefesh, not in Torah, but it would have been in order to help the Yid. I'm giving up my schus that I have, that I'm in Torah, which is a great schus, I'm putting it aside. I'm giving up my rights to Torah, so to speak, in order there should be a help that the Yidden should be saved, the Yidden have a kapara. Now, in the Ha'ara 35, the Rebbe does bring the whole thing. What's the years? When was the Shulchan Aruch written? Was it the end of his life or not? But the bottom line that comes out, that had he gone on Kiddush Hashem, he would not be able to write the Shulchan Aruch. And so what happened was, he was supposed to be a higher madrega to give up his life, and Leibel, it turned out that he didn't have that such high madrega, and he had to wrote the Shulchan Aruch, wrote the Torah. So same thing about Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe Rabbeinu went on Mesiras Nefesh for Yidden, because the Yidden would have been saved. And he said, by me going on Mesiras Nefesh, it's almost like saying the schus of my going on Mesiras Nefesh, of giving up my etzem mitzias, should be the schus to protect the Yidden. Doesn't say this clearly here at this point, but that seems to be the pshat. And the example that he gives him to Beis Yosef seems to say that pshat, that the question is, how would it work? Why would he not, because he's not written the Torah, the Yidden would be saved? Yeah, I'm giving up my life for the sake that schus should work for you. That's what it seems like the pshat here. So that's number one. But based on what we said before, that the connection of Moshe to Yidden is stronger than Torah, so it's worth for him to give up his connection to Torah in order to save the Yidden's life, because his connection to Yidden is stronger. And Beis, the second thing, the Yisachtas, this connection, B'meila de Mesiras Nefesh, and automatically the Mesiras Nefesh is mit ufar yad Yidden. And automatically, for who would he go to Mesiras Nefesh? To every Yid. In vos varamatzav nor zayin, whatever situation he is. I feel the Eisei Egel. The question was, why would he give up his connection to Torah? For who? For the people who sinned against the Torah, against the Eibishter. No, now we understand why. The Baldas is from Torah, since his connection to Yidden is higher than Torah, that is not bottled durch dem was Yid is abgerissen in Torah. So that would not change, because this Yid is not connected to the Torah. If it's the level of Torah, so this Yid is not connected to Torah. So why would I give up my Torah for him who's not connected to Torah? But since there's something higher than Torah, because you're a Yid, so then it's to every Yid. Like the Chazal say, even if you sinned, you're still a Yid. Und das der Pirish im Tisach hatos in my that if you don't forgive them, if you forgive them is good, but if you don't forgive them, erase them from the Torah. If and here the Rebbe says even more than what I said before, that the schus of Moshe. Here he says another word. Moshe was saying, if the chet egel is so bad that Torah does not make a place of Tisach Hadosam. In other words, as far as the Torah is concerned, if you don't forgive them, that means that as far as the Torah is concerned, it's such a terrible thing, you have to destroy them. There's no way David could forgive them. Hashem vot mechaper given. It seems like saying this means Hashem himself would have forgiven them. Their Torah is kiviyachol teveyo minei. Torah kiviyachol stopping, because of the Torah you can't forgive. And we find that someplace. It says in the Ha'ara 39 that it says in Chazal and Yalkut in different places that they asked Torah, what should be the punishment of somebody who was a sinner? So, and then Torah, and they asked the Eibishter what is, and they gave different answers. The Torah answered, if you didn't have it, let him die. The Eibishter answered, Yasa tshuva v'yiskapel, let him do tshuva. So this was Moshe saying, if you're going to destroy them because they sinned against the Torah, so Torah, the fact that they sinned against the Torah, Torah doesn't let them to continue living, they have to be punished. Is Moshe bakosh and tfiyah? So Moshe is asking, erase me from the Torah, which means this expresses his connection to Yidden beyond Torah. He's saying, if Torah is the problem, I don't want to have anything to do with Torah. If Torah doesn't let the Yid forgive him, because Torah could stop the Yid from existing, from living, So then now I'm showing my connection to Yidden, which is higher than Torah. So I'm expressing that I don't want to be connected to Torah. That brings about the connection of the Eibishter with Yidden, which is higher connection to Torah. So Torah should not stop. So he says he erased me from the Torah, which means my connection to Torah, he's saying, is not that strong because the connection to Yidden is stronger, which automatically is connected to the Eibishter's connection to Yidden higher than Torah. Because there's a connection of the Eibishter to Yidden higher than Torah, so they should be forgiven. Why? Because the reason they can't be forgiven because of Torah, but if you go beyond the Torah, they should also be forgiven. Even for the terrible aved of Chet Egel. And then the end will be, if you will forgive them, they'll go back to Torah. They'll connect to Torah also. But Torah would not allow. So that's what he said. If you don't forgive them, and the pshat is the Torah is so strong that could hold back the fact that he's a Yid, then he should continue living. So B'meila Moshe Rabbeinu said that I'm expressing my connection to Yidden over Torah, and B'meila, I, so to speak, push me away from the Torah, and then what will happen if you push me away from the Torah? My Etze will be Nizgala, which is higher than my connection to Torah, will be the connection to Yidden, which will be Megala, the connection of the Eibush to the Yidden beyond Torah, and B'meila you have to forgive them. And in order 40, the Rebbe adds another word. He says, this could also explain what the Eibishter answered Moshe. After Moshe said that, what did the Eibishter say? He said, if you're not going to forgive, erase me from the Torah. So the Eibishter said, whoever sinned, I'm going to erase him from the Sefer. So the Rebbe said that according, if it goes on the Sefer Torah, so the Ramban asks, your Rashi says he meant erase him from the Sefer Torah. So he asked, so what did the Eibishter answer? Whoever sinned, I will erase him. So he says, what's the pshat? That's why the Ramban learns that it means erase me from the Sefer HaChaim. But Rashi doesn't learn that. So according to the way Rashi learns, erase me from the Torah means the Eibishter answers was, I will erase those that sinned. What does that mean? That because those that sinned connect them, there's a connection to me, to the Eibishter, higher than Torah, I will erase him from the Torah. The same thing Moshe Rabbeinu said, erase me from the Torah. Because that will be Megala, the Etzem, connection to Yidden, which is higher than Torah. That's what the Eibishter said. Normally, the pshat is, it's grace, it's a chasson. The Eibishter said, no, I'm not going to erase you. They sinned for me, I'll erase them. So according to this pshat, the Eibishter answered him, I will forgive them. How did he say I will forgive them? Why would he not forgive? Because the Torah is standing in the way. Don't worry, I'll erase him from the Torah. Which means I'll bring them up to higher than Torah, and then I will forgive them. And that's how Leibel learns the pshat here. The Rebbe says now, this will explain that how is the request of Moshe erase me from the Torah connected to Parshas Tetsave, which was the first original question, since the fulfillment of his request, erase me from the Torah, happened in Parshas Tetsave, there must be a connection. What's the connection? So the Rebbe explains like this. This connection of Moshe with all the Yidden, which is higher than his connection to Torah, which is seen, expressed in his request, erase me from the Torah because my connection to Yidden are higher, as we said before, in them, that is expressed, shown in Tetsave B'nai Yisrael. That the first words of the Parsha, you shall command the B'nai Yisrael. From the Perushim in them is, one of the pshatim in these words, Tetsave B'nai Yisrael, simple pshat is, you shall command the Yidden, tell the Yidden what to do. But there's another pshat. Va'ata means the atzmis for Moshe. David is telling Moshe, you shall command, you. And as we said before, from the Kliyokar, you, meaning your etzem, is mekasher u mechaber. Tetsave is loshen tzaf v'chibur. Tetsave doesn't only mean command, it also means connection. So va'ata means you, your etzem, connects alle Yidden zusammen mit dem Metzias. You make all the Yidden into one. So when it says va'ata Tetsave b'nei Yisrael, means you, because you're so close connected to Yidden, so you cause that all the Yidden should be one Metzias. It's like Madreges for Moshe was verbunden mit Hashem. When we talk about Moshe, that's connected to the name. But those is we said before, the name is not the real etzem. It's only a name. And the Rebbe here says the name is not the etzem. Is the name includes also Yechida. We know there are 5 names for the neshama. It says Chamisha Shemes Nikler, 5 names: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. Yechida is the highest madrega of the neshama. There are not only 5 names, 5 levels in the neshama. And Yechida always is said as that's Yechida means Yochid, that's the essence of the neshama. But in truth, it says that as much as that's the essence of the neshama, it's not the real essence. Because the Chazal refer to it as a name. There are 5 names. Yechida is also a name. And the name we said is not the real essence. So the Rebbe says, the Madregas of Moshe, it's at the Madregas of Moshe that are considered a name. The neshama is called the 5 names. And one of the 5 is Yechida, but it's still a shame only. And the shame we call Chassidus is only a gilui. Like we said before, it's only this, the gilui means a ray. Like we said before, a name is only your connection to the outside of you, to somebody else. That's called like a ray. It's called only ha'ora. It's only a gilui. It's not the essence of the thing. The grechtman the giluyim shalamayla, by being mitzad the name Moshe, which is a name, which is a gilui, and that connects even to the highest levels, but to the highest levels of giluyim. The levels that it connects, Moshe's name connects, is very high level, but not the real essence of Moshe. So it's a level which is not higher than Torah. The Torah is the names of Hashem. So when we're talking about the union of a name, that could only be as high as the connection of Torah to the Eibishter, because Torah is the name of the Eibishter. All the words of Torah is the names of the Eibishter. So if it would be Hashem, it doesn't show the connection of Eden to the etzem of the Eibishter, because it's not the etzem of Moshe Rabbeinu, it's only a name, and his connection is only through the name. If you only reach that madrege, you cannot accomplish that all the Yidden should be connected. All the Yidden connected means even those who are not keeping the Torah. But if you only go to connect to the Eibishter the way he's connected to Torah, so how could all Yidden be the same? So those that keep the Torah are part of it, but those that don't keep the Torah are not part of it. So in order to connect all the Yidden one, including those who are not keeping Torah, that they should also be part of it and be connected to the Eibishter beyond the Torah, that cannot come from the shame. Dafke ve'ato Tetsave. Dafke, when it says ve'ato, you shall command. And the pshat we're learning now is not command, it means you shall connect. The atzmi is from Moshe, which is hechef Hashem v'teir. The etzem, the essence of Moshe, which is beyond any name and any description. The etzem ha-nefesh was vet nit nifsed in the chamish Hashem, is the etzem of the neshama of Moshe, which is not part of the 5 names, even part of Yechide. Was verbindt sich mit dem Ato ha'ike v'amiti Ato shalomai latzmusam ha'zizbor. So the essence of Moshe is for sure connected to the essence of Hashem, which is, that's the real essence. With Bembes Lamita is dafke nor of Atz Meshayach Zog Ato. When can we say Ato you, which is no description? Loshen Neichach, directly speaking, is only the etzem of the Eibishter. Hashem Shemayim Shogaber Fekel, it says in the etzem of the Eibishter, everyone is connected, even little children that don't know much. They say the Eibishter. They mean the Eibishter. What do they mean? They mean Epsatzilas, they mean different Madregas. It's talking to the etzem of the Eibishter. So when you say you, it's the etzem of the Eibishter. So when it says Ata Tetsave, we're talking to Moshe, your etzem, which is a hint also to the Eibishter's etzem, that's the real you. So through when you reach that level of the etzem of Moshe, which is connected to the etzem of the Eibishter, which means the etzem of the Eibishter in the real etzem, higher than his connection to Torah, pale them Tetzaves b'nei Yisrael, Mitzavse b'chibur f'nal Eden. So that causes the Tetzaves b'nei Yisrael. Tzave means connect all the Eden. The Tzavse b'chibur, the connection of all the Eden. Afila deisa egel, even those that made the egel, the name Metzias makes them all to Metzias. So here we see, since we said the whole thing of erasing Moshe Rabbeinu means erasing his name, and that means that, but bringing out his etzem, which is higher than the name which connected to it, is higher to the Eibishter. So we ask, why is it in Parshas Tetsave this mechenino, this happened that his name is erased, so to speak? Is because it's connected to Vata Tetsave. Because in the words Vata Tetsave, you see this. You connect all the Yidden only if there's a you. It doesn't say Moshe should connect, because the moment it says Moshe's name, it's a lower madrega. Lower madrega still Torah is strong there. And b'meila you can't connect all the Yidden, because some Yidden don't keep Torah chas v'sholom. So that's why it says Vata. Only you're the etzem of Moshe, which is connected to the Eibishter higher than Torah. So the same thing by the Eibishter, and that makes all the Yidden equal, and that kapel that the Eibishter should forgive, because the whole reason he won't forgive, because Torah doesn't let, so to speak, but inside the connection of the Eibishter to Yidden higher than that, the Eibishter could forgive. This also explains the words Ata Tetsave in Chumash, in the Hemshech, in the continuation of what the Eibishter is telling him. What did he say? Ata Tetsave in Yisrael, and they should take to you the oil to bring up the candle, Tomit, the constant candle on the menorah. B'chura, Rebbe asked the Shaila. The lighting of the menorah was through Aaron. So why did Hashem let them bring the oil to you, to Moshe? Should bring it to Aaron. Shake of them the beer. So it says the beer, different Maimorim. Aaron is adatz mispei lefiden v'chazayim neiris. When Aaron on his own, when he has an effect and influence on Yidden, which are called candles, every Yid is a candle. Every Yid is ready to shine with fire, with light, which is a mitzvah, which is Torah. Ner mitzvah Torah. The mitzvah is a candle, Torah is light. Every Yid has the potential of serving Hashem. So that's mitzvah. That's only connected to learning Torah, to doing Torah. So Aaron's connection to the Yidden is through Torah. He could cause them light the menorah, and it says in Chassidus like the menorah represents all the Yidden. He could light up all the Yidden and light what? What does it mean light up all the Yidden? All the Yidden should keep Torah mitzvahs. Aber durch dem was Likkutei lech Hashem and the game. But by bringing the oil to Moshe, he connects all the Yidden, even those that are not Shach, don't learn Torah. So if it comes to Moshe has a connection to the etzem of the Yidden. So it causes that all the Yidden are the same. Even the simple ones. Say the etzem nefesh but they only come through Moshe. Because if through Aaron it only goes as far as Torah, and if they are far from Torah, then there's nothing to do. But if Moshe is involved, then he causes that it should be that their etzem nefesh, which is even higher than Torah, will come nisgala. Now we'll understand the connection between Ata Tetsave to the content of the whole Seder. But the far vet need their Moshe in the ganze Seder. The name of Moshe is not mentioned not only in the first passage because what the Eibishter wants to stress the Ato. The whole Parsha, the whole Seder, there's Moshe's name is not mentioned. So this concept that we said before has to be connected to the whole Parsha. So where do we see the connection to the whole Parsha? Now we'll understand. In the ganze Sipur, when Kunas Aaron Avoniv in the Seder, the whole idea, the whole telling in the Torah, in the Seder, about Aaron being the Kohen and his children, etc., is mutgish. All that stresses he does the Avgetom and Moshe Davke. The whole parsha it says about making the big tikkun and giving them their chinuch, their dedication. The Torah stresses that this has to be done through Moshe. Right away it says, you bring Aaron close to make him into a Kohen, to prepare him to be a Kohen. It says in Posik, make holy Godim to Aaron your brother. You make it. The whole thing, the whole process of doing things as a dedication to initiate them into the Kahuna. So we see in Chumash, it's all done through Moshe with the Tzel Barucha in their Parsha, like it says in the Parsha, everything Moshe, basically Moshe was like the Kohen. Moshe did Aveda to bring them into the Kahuna. For the Biurim Bezei, Al Derech Anal Bin Yeneira Sam Neira. One beer, why did have to Moshe do it? Is similar to what we said by the light of the Menorah. Aaron that came at Tzadatzme in Yoni Kuna Gdush Samishkon. Aaron on his own, just like we said before by the Menorah, if Aaron himself just would light the Menorah, nothing to do with Moshe, it would be only as far as Torah. Because of Moshe is higher. The same thing here. Aaron's Inyan is Kuna, being a king. Gdush Samishkon, the whole thing is the Mishkan. The Meila will tell Zayn Aveyes Hakuna Gata Virkun Biki nor of Evdi Hashem, but so Magilu Dikishaycha to Menorah Samishkon and Mikdash. So from Aaron's perspective, if Aaron's Aveda, who would he affect? Only those that serve Hashem. They have a shaychus to Torah. Have a shaychus to the Menorah, which is the light of Ner Mitzvah Torah. That would affect. But the Eibush said to Moshe, you bring him closer. Your brother. So it's you have an effect on your brother to make him a Kenis. So now the Kuna of Aaron in such a way as a stutuf in all Yidden. So even what Aaron does affects all the Yidden because it's not Aaron, it's a brother of Moshe. So it's Moshe involved here. And for the time it was gleich nach Chinuch Aaron state. This is one of the reasons why right after Torah talks about the Chinuch, the dedication, the inauguration, I don't know, whatever the name we give it, dedication of Aaron, it says state that Tzivu of Mizbach and Mikta K'teres. Right after that it says about making the Mizbeach of K'teres. And that's written after the whole Parsha, at the end of the Parsha Tetsave. It's one of the Kelim of the Mishkan. B'chure had Tzivu Yafasiyas Mizbeach Apnimi. You darf stay free in a Parsha Truma. B'chure about making the Mizbeach for K'teres, because we had two Mizbeachas. The big one, which was on the outside of the Azorah, they brought korbanos and animals, etc. Got mincha. There's one small one that was in the Heichol, and there it was only for Ketores. That's written at the end of Parshas Tetsave. But why? Should have been before in Parshas Truma, zusammen mit Tzivoy of alle Klei Mishkan, together with the commandment for all the vessels of the Mishkan. Hail the Mizbeach Achitz, the Mizbeach, the outer Mizbeach, the big Mizbeach, was it mentioned there too? Why was this not mentioned there, but it's mentioned here? No, the answer is, this idea that we want Aaron's serving as a Kohen should connect to all the Eden, which Aaron on his own couldn't do it. Had to be through Moshe, because Aaron would only reach a certain level, only Shaychus to Torah. So the reason is, this Indian that even Aaron's Kohen has to be connected to all the Eden. That's in Ketores we see that. In Ketores we see that even people who are not connected to Torah, so to speak, are also part of Klal Yisrael. And Aaron should affect them too. And that we see by Ketores. Where would they see by Ketores? As kol tainis. She'ein ba mepeshe Yisrael, any fast day that you don't have participation of Peshe Yisrael, of Yidden who are not good, ain't a tainis. It's not, the tainis doesn't affect so much. And we see that by Ketores. One amongst the ingredients of the Ketores was chelbano. Chelbano was, all the ingredients were good smells. Ketores used to have a good smell. One of the ingredients is chelbano, which had a bad smell. And the Torah counts it amongst, together with the other ingredients of the Ketores. So Ketores represents the singing that the Yid is higher than Torah. That even the Yid who's a Peshe Yisrael is also part of it. Like Moshe Rabbeinu went to Mesiras Nefesh for who? For the people who didn't keep the Torah. They're the Peshe Yisrael. Same thing here by Aaron. When he's maktek Torah, we want it. And the Rebbe in her order, in one of the orders before, so he says in order 58, now we understand the connection between the beginning of the parsha and the end. Usually there's a connection, because the beginning of the parsha says Tetsave, that through Moshe you connect all the Yidden and live, and they're connected to the Eibush, they're higher than Torah. And the end of the parsha talks about the Mizbeach HaKteres. Mizbeach HaKteres is the Mizbeach that represents this union, that all the Yidden, even the ones that are not good, are also connected. And in Ha'ara 60, the Rebbe says that another Nakudah, Ketores, the meaning of the word Ketores is Kesher. That's the meaning of this translation. Not being connected. And it even brings from a sefer called Tzrei Rameir, it's Mekasher Hadvorim Atachteini Belyenim. That Ketores means it connects the lower things to the higher things. It means it brings up even those people who are low. And this is Al Derech Tetsave. Like Tetsave means that you connect all the even the low ones. That's hinted in Ketores and in the word Ketores. Ketores means tying a knot, which is more by the Kabbonis. The Rebbe doesn't bring it by Kabbonis. We find it's also the word Kabbonis comes from the word Korev. It brings you close. Close is very close, but not a knot. A knot means you become one. And here, like Ketores, it becomes one. And when you become one, it means it shows your etzem of a Yid, which is all the Yidden are equal. And that's how you connect to the etzem of the Eibishter, which is higher than Torah. And that's why Ketores is written here. And then, in Orah 62, the Rebbe says that this is specifically connected to Mizbeach HaKteres, which is the Mizbeach HaPnimi. The other Mizbeach is called Mizbeach HaChitzen, outside. This Mizbeach is called the Mizbeach HaPnimi. It's inside the Heichol, inside the Beis Hamikdash, in Mishkan, inside the Omeid, inside the Beis Hamikdash, in the Heichol. And you see this, it says that the two Mizbeachas, they represent the heart. Mizbeach HaChitzen represents Chitzeni Salev, the outside part of the heart, the superficial part. The Mizbeach HaPnimi represents the Etzem. And we said before, when it comes to the Etzem, that's where we have the singing that you're connected to the Eibishter beyond anything else, and that's in the Mizbeach HaKteres. And then the Rebbe says, when is it revealed? When they brought the Ketores on Yom Kippur. And in order, the Rebbe says that Yom Kippur, when we say Kol Nidre before, is the only time of the year when we say we're giving a heter to daven with avaryonim, with those that go against the Torah. Dafkim Kippur, because Yom Kippur, this Nakuda of the Yidden connected to the Eibishter beyond anything, even Chas v'Shalom don't keep Torah. That's the end of Yom Kippur. It says in the end of the Sedre of Tetsave, when it talks about Mizbeach HaKteres, it says v'chiper Aaron HaKol Nesov, Aaron should forgive by doing the Aveda with the horn, with the tops, the corners of the Mizbeach. Once a year, you mechaper. That means especially the once a year, which is in Kippur. This is Nisgala, this gets revealed on Yom Kippur. So here we see the whole connection of all the with the protim, the kasha, and how it answers. And the whole idea is that Moshe Rabbeinu's connection to Eden is higher than the connection to Torah. That brings out in the Eden that every Yid has a shaycha to the Eibishter, and b'meila you could forgive him. And one word that Rebbe said before, derech agav, and b'meila that'll bring him to Torah also, because if he gets forgiven, he'll be able to learn more Torah. From this we have a wonderful, fantastic lesson in our service of Hashem. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to forgo, give up something so great and so important for him, which is Zayfar Bund mit Torah, and connection, his connection to Torah, Tzudi Biden, he was ready to give for Eden. Now, Fila for Eisa Egel, even for those that sinned with the Egel, but this is noch mehr after Racha Kamecha. This is even greater than when it says you should love Hashem, love every Yid like yourself. Because if Moshe would only stick to after Racha Kamecha, the Kamecha for Moshe is doch Torah. What's Moshe himself? We said before. He was like Torah. So we have to love another Yid the same way. That means that he would give up himself for the Torah, for Yid to learn Torah. Nevertheless, is Moshe given great some side of them. He gave up even this, his connection to Torah, to be together with the Yid. In order for him to be together with the Yid, that the Yid should all be, which is higher than Torah, he was ready to give up something in him which is his essence, which is higher even if after Racha Kamecha, like yourself. For himself, he would have been stuck, given over, only try to forgive for those who keep Torah, but he did more than that. So he wanted to be together with Yidden, to be one with those who are torn away from the Torah. And in order 66, the Rebbe even says, in Eitz Chaim it says that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted so much to be with the Yidden that he died in the desert because of them. Because he wanted to be massacring them. Who? The people who died in the Midbar. They died for a reason, not for a good reason. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be with them because he was Mavat. He gave up everything in order to be one with the Yidden, and not because his real connection to the Yidden is stronger than his connection to Torah. So too, just like Moshe Rabbeinu did it, so he, because he was a shepherd, a faithful shepherd. What's a shepherd? He feeds his flock. It means he gives them their nutrition. So Moshe Rabbeinu also gewollt und gegeben keich jeder Yidden. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted and gave the ability, the power to every Yid, in every time, all times, in all places, and that every Yid should behave that way. And this is what Moshe tainet. If you not chas v'sholom, forgive him for the Rabbeinu. And B'meila, as Poshe Pshat and Poshe Eibishter said, no, I'm going to erase them, which was fitting. I'm not going to erase you, the Eibishter said, Poshe Pshat. But you want to erase from the thing. No, they sinned, I'll erase them. Those that sinned, I'll erase them. Never bleiben besifrach. And Moshe will stay. What did Moshe say? That why do I want to be erased? Because if I'm not erased and you're going to destroy them, what will people say about me? They'll say I couldn't daven for them. What does that mean? So Rebbe asked, would Moshe think about his own pride when it comes to such a thing of the Eibishter destroying Yidden? So Rebbe teaches, if he will not ask to be erased, all it will mean is that Moshe Rabbeinu was not ready to give up his essence for the Yidden. That's what I see, because his essence is Torah. And when he said, erase me from the Sifrim, means I'm ready to give up my connection to Torah, my etzem, I'm ready to give up for Eden. Had he not erased them from Torah, he said, if you don't, what will it be? So Poshet words is, what will it be? They'll say, I couldn't daven for them. That's not what he meant. That means, as I'm not ready to give up my Beis Nefesh for Eden, it's not what people will say. People will see that that's what I did. They're going to learn and do the same. Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching all the Yidden what to do, the right thing, to give up everything for another Yid, even if he's a Cheta Egel, a person who did the Egel. If I will not, what will they say about me? They'll say that I didn't give up my life for the Yidden. I wasn't ready to go such a Mesiras Nefesh. And b'meila, they will learn from that. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. And that's the deeper pshat in what Moshe said, what will they say about me? The lesson from all this, how it's supposed to be in the Aved of every Yid. It's not yet enough you have Avos Yisrael. Und zu jeder Yid, and to every Yid. You could have Avos Yisrael and taka to every Yid, no matter how the Yid is. Und the Avi is kamecha. And you can love him mamish like you love yourself. But just like Moshe Rabbeinu, he went more beyond the after kamecha. Same thing. He wants nor as monsik mesiris nefesh for that tzveid. Not only you should love another yid, you have to give up everything of yourself, mesiris nefesh, for other yidden, for another yid, and for jeder yid, for every yid. But that's the chutzdik. How do you give up mesiris nefesh? You love them and you makarim the Torah. So even though you're doing it because you're higher than Torah, but sof kol sof, as we said before, this will bring them to Torah too. So you have to give up everything and makarim every yid because he's a yid and he's connected to Eibishter. And the end will be that you will makarim the Torah any sof kol sof makarim the Torah. But it all comes because your connection, Moshe's connection to the Eden, is higher than his connection to Torah, like the Eibishter's connection to the Eden is higher than his connection to Torah.